What's going on, everybody? This is Talking Thrones, and I am here with a very special guest tonight. This is a man whose channel I have been a fan of for quite some time now, someone I have been wanting to record with since the very beginning. This man is a staple, a legend in the Game of Thrones community. Tonight, I present to you the artist formerly known as Don Willie. I am here with A Dawn of Ice and Fire.
Vala Mogolis, everybody. This is Don Willie. And yeah, I am so glad to be here on your channel. Good sir. Yeah, and to be discussing these plot leaks, breaking things down, building it back up, see if it all makes sense, and also asking the pointed questions that need to be asked of season 7.
Yes, sir. I'm very happy to have you on tonight, Dawn. We've been talking, messaging each other back and forth for a while now, trying to figure out when we could record something. And we decided tonight we're going to talk about this plot leak and try to pick it apart, see what's real, what's not, what makes sense, what sounds ridiculous, and things like that. So we're just pretty much going to go through it episode by episode and see what we can come up with. Okay,
Awesome.
Dawn. Episode 1, it says the White Walkers are marching south on the wall. Bran crosses the wall back into Westeros and meets with Dolorous Edd, the new Lord Commander of the Night's Watch. Sansa and Jon have an argument about what to do with the Northern Houses, who betrayed them by fighting with the Boltons. Sansa and Lyanna Mormont wants to give their lands to loyal supporters, but Jon refuses to hold the Karstark and Umber children responsible. Jon does it his way and basically tells the others to deal with it because he's not going to rule the North the way it's always been. At the end of the episode, Daenerys and company arrive at Dragonstone, Stannis' old seat, in an island near King's Landing. She goes into the old war room with the table map of Westeros and turns to Tyrion and says, "Shall we begin?" So, Dawn, what do you think about this first episode?
All right, so it sounds legit for what we know of how they kind of structure things. And I think it could be pretty interesting if that's the route that they actually decide to go with it. I mean, we did hear about there being a high stakes scene that's supposed to be from some northern houses, and a lot of people have been speculating that this high stakes scene could be possibly people trying to kidnap the Umber and Karstark children and possibly hold them for ransom, or if not hold them for ransom, that it's that it's definitely some sort of act of vengeance for what happened during the Battle of the Bastards, and other atrocities that may have been committed while Roose Bolton and Ramsay Bolton ran the North. Uh, um, it's interesting to think that Jon is kind of falling into some of the same traps that Ned probably would have.
Yes.
Because the whole thing about, well, yeah, I'm not gonna hold the kids responsible for what their fathers did is definitely a Ned Stark move. And look, I hate to say it, but I mean, like, that's how Starks wound up getting their asses killed.
Absolutely right, man. And we know Jon already has been trying to rule his own type of way too, like at Castle Black with letting the wildlings come through.
Yeah, and for the most part, that doesn't seem like the greatest thing that you can possibly do. I mean, look, let's think about it, right? They talk about how the wildlings and the people from the Seven Kingdoms, and especially the Night's Watch, have been killing each other for thousands of years. Thousands. Now, for us living right now, I don't think that we can think of a particular conflict on this planet uh, from our personal perspectives that have been going on for thousands of years. That is like, how do you reconcile with someone who's been your enemy for longer than you can actually possibly imagine?
Absolutely right.
So yeah, I mean, Jon is taking a big risk here. You know, again,
Is this
Go
Do you
ahead.
think this is gonna? Sorry. Do you think this is gonna upset? Like, assuming this is true, do you think this is gonna upset a lot of John's other supporters? Besides, like Sansa having a problem with it, do you see some other northern houses have an issue with this?
I doubt it because of the fact that they actually proclaimed him as king in the north. But look, I could see. Here's the thing, right? It's hard to say because yeah, we hear about how these northern houses are supposed to be so loyal from Sansa, but yet at the same point, they didn't show up for the Battle of the Bastards. And yes, they're trying to prove themselves to John, but John also has to prove himself to the rest of them. You don't just get to be king in perpetuity just because they proclaim you king today. You know, they could always rebel against you and overthrow you, and especially for the fact that John is a bastard. uh it's you're gonna have people who are gonna question him, whether or not they're gonna be resentful and possibly plot against him. That's a totally different story. But I could see maybe a couple of families who might be thinking this is their opportunity to get something out of Jon Snow. Uh, them being upset at him protecting the children of the Karstarks and the Umbers.
Yeah, I could see some people have an issue with that for sure. Because we've heard for so long the North remembers, but when the Starks, who are, you know, a big key part of the North, one of the most important families of the North, when they were in their most, dire situation, the North were nowhere to be found. They sided with Ramsay. Some of these big houses that have always been Stark supporters.
Yeah, and for those of you out there who may not actually read the books, the Manderleys, which we only get a very small glimpse of who's supposed to be Wyman Manderley in season 6. Even though I think I heard that they gave him a different name. But the point is, like, the Manderleys of White Harbor are supposed to be like 100% the most loyal house. And, it kind of flips back and forth between them and the Umbers. So for the Manderleys not to show up, I'm not sure where, D&D decided to, like, or why they decided to do that. But for the fact that you have, two of the bigger houses, one, the Karstarks, who are actually Stark relatives, and then, arguably the most loyal supporters being the Umbers turning on the Starks, and then all the rest of the houses not even coming to help them except for the Mormonts and yeah, except for the trying to think, other than the Mormonts, who did they get?
You know, I don't think they really got anybody else that they showed us in the show because we know the Glovers weren't there, the Umbers weren't there, the Karstarks weren't there. The
Well, no,
bigger
no,
the
the Umbers and the Karstarks were there. They were just on the wrong side.
Well, yeah, that's what I mean. Like they weren't there for the Starks. The only big house in the north, I think, was the Mormonts, and they only had 62 people.
Yeah, correct. But remember, every one man from Bear Island fights with the strength of 10 mainlanders. So,
Yeah, so they say.
man. But yeah, I mean, look, like I was saying before, I think they could possibly be resentful, even though they didn't show up for the Starks. But at the same point, they made him the king, so they kind of gotta go with what he says. Sansa being salty. I mean, I'm not sure if it was you. I think it was you that was saying that Sansa didn't didn't have a salty look on her face at the end of season 6. But I'm gonna have to disagree with you, and I have evidence.
Okay, because what I saw from my perspective, she was smiling at John, and her face only changed when she saw Littlefinger lurking in the backgrounds with that same face he always has when we know he's up to something and getting ready to plot against somebody. That was the only time I saw her face change, when she saw the look on Littlefinger's face.
Right. But, if you go and actually watch behind the scenes for season 6, especially for that particular episode, she, Davos Seaworth, the actor that plays Davos, and I believe either Dan or Dave, all three of them said that Sansa was not happy at the end of season 6. And the Littlefinger look was the thing that made her unhappy, not because she was unhappy for John, but it was one of those things where, remember, Littlefinger told her, like, look, you are the true born daughter of Ned and Catelyn Stark, and he's a motherless bastard from the South. Do you really, want these people following him? And the look on her face was kind of like, oh, God damn it, you're right. And I hate the fact that you're right now.
Yeah, the only thing I have to say about that is when those actors say things like that in the off season, I kind of feel like they're saying that just to hype it up, because I don't think legally they would want to, they could spoil something like that, like a future motivation of two big characters, especially against the new king. I don't know why they would let us know that.
I mean, well, that the thing is, I don't think that she would be plotting with Peter Baelish to overthrow John, right? But I think it's just more of her being discontent. And uh, Sophie Turner has said in another interview, after season 6, that she not only is she not happy, but there is going to be some points of contention between her and John for season 7.
Yes, I heard that too, and I just don't feel like if that was true that they could reveal something like that. But that's just my opinion.
I mean, we'll see what happens. I mean, look at what they're saying in the plot leaks.
Yeah, you're right. That's it says she's questioning John's actions in the very first episode. If this is true, then you are absolutely right, sir. But I just did not see it that way. But I could be wrong, I could be wrong.
I mean, we shall see in a few months.
Yes, sir. So, there's something I want to ask you real quick about this first episode. Do you think this will be something Littlefinger will use? Like when John leaves, do you think this is when Littlefinger's going to pull Sansa to the side and say, look what he is doing? He's giving these houses back to these traitors. Do you think he's going to use that against John when he leaves?
No, I think he is going to depart peaceably. And not only that, I think he is gonna kind of still throw the bug in Sansa's ear, like, "Hey, look, the Knights of the Vale came. They came at my command. Look, when you're ready to really, execute my plan, come and meet me in the Vale."
Yeah, I could see that. I could see Sansa leaving. I don't think she's going to stay at Winterfell for the entire season. I could see her leaving for sure.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about Bran when he returns? Is he going to have any issue with Jon being king?
I don't think Bran is gonna have an issue with Jon being king, but I don't. Uh, See, here's the thing, because since we don't know how long it's going to be from the end of season 6 to the beginning of season 7, like if it's been months, then I'm pretty sure the Night's Watch would have heard about Jon becoming king in the North. If it's like, couple of days or something, like they may not have bothered to tell the Night's Watch yet. So when Bran gets to the wall, he may or may not know, because the
Right.
Night's Watch may or may not know. But all right, let's assume that they do know. Um, Bran wouldn't have an issue with it, because who else is there? If
Right,
John
right.
is yeah, if John is the one who actually fought for the North to get it back, then you got to give it to him.
I agree. I said that in one of my previous videos. I don't think Bran is going to have a problem with this at all.
And depending on how it is that he is able to interpret what he saw at the Tower of Joy, he would be 100% okay with it. And in fact, he'd be like, really, John is the king of all Westeros.
Exactly, is absolutely right.
Yeah. So we're just gonna have to see, like what information have they given Bran by the time he gets back to the wall? What information have they given the Night's Watch by the time Bran makes it there? Because if it's like the same day that Jon becomes king, then the Night's Watch probably isn't gonna know about it. If it's a few months later, which it really shouldn't be, because Bran was within 1 mile of the wall. That's where that weirwood tree is supposed to be. It's supposed to be within about a mile of the wall.
Yeah, I want to ask you something about that. I said the same thing. I thought he was at the weirwood tree where the Night's Watch take their vows.
Yeah, I mean,
Because people told me that he's actually at the weirwood tree by the Fist of the First Men.
first off, what weirwood tree by the fist of the first man?
That's what I want to know because I completely disagreed. I've said in several videos that he is right outside the wall.
Yeah, I mean, when he look, first off, when Benjen drops him off, you can see the wall.
Yeah, he looks right at it and it's very close.
Right. And that's when Benjen tells him, hey, look, I'm gonna drop you off here. You finish doing what you gotta do and then head for the wall. I can't go with you because I'm dead.
You got to look at it like this too. If he dropped them off at the Fist of the First Men, how the hell is she going to get him to the wall from that good a distance? She no longer has that like wheelbarrow thing.
Right. So I mean, unless Mira is all of a sudden gonna become, the Terminator or something like that, there's no way that she was gonna get him from the fist of the first men to the wall.
There's no way in hell the Night King and his army would hunt their asses down before she could even make it a few miles. I mean, Bran, he's a grown man now. She can't carry him that far.
Right. I mean, but then the crazy thing about it is, it's like, all right, well, Benjen, you dropped him off at the tree, which is a mile away from the wall. A
Right.
mile away. Like, look, I don't know about you, but like for my job, I actually have to do a lot of walking. Luckily, I don't have to walk miles, but if I had to walk a mile with my life in danger, oh man, that's going to be the longest mile ever.
Yeah, not to mention it's freezing cold.
Yeah, so I'm not sure why Benjamin didn't just escort them to the wall. Say, hey, look, Bran, you got a couple of more things you need to learn. Go touch the tree. I'll be here standing guard, and then once you're done, I'm taking you to the wall. Sorry I can't go with you, but at least we got you there safe, and then be out. So
Yeah, I think that may be one of the reasons why Bran was dropped off there. I think in the very first episode, we may see him go into the weirwood net again.
yeah, and you know what, that's gonna feed into something that I'm gonna talk about a little later on as far as weirwood stuff and flashbacks. But
Okay, cool. So overall, this first episode, does it sound pretty on par with where the story's going? I think it does.
yeah, I mean, there's nothing too outrageous in terms of, uh, just in terms of like plot or any kind of deviations or stuff that just seems implausible. So, yeah, it's
Yeah, this
cool.
seemed yeah, this seemed pretty basic so far. Let's move on to the second episode and see what that's sounding like.
All right.
All right, guys, I'm going to end this video right here for now. We recorded over 2 hours of audio for this plot leak discussion, and I wasn't sure how many of you would like to listen to a video that was over 2 hours long. So I took a poll on Twitter, and the majority of you that did vote wanted me to break this video down into several parts. So I'm going to end the discussion here, and tomorrow I will release part 2 of this plot leak discussion video with the Dawn of Ice and Fire and me. And most of you have heard me break down this plot leak before, so I was very excited to be able to get another Game of Thrones YouTuber on this channel to discuss these things with, and get a different perspective about what may or may not take place. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that. And if you did, please give this video a thumbs up. I always appreciate that. And go over to a Dawn of Ice and Fire's channel and check out some of his content. I always appreciate those of you that subscribe to his channel. Dawn actually told me that the last time I gave him a shout out in the video, he got almost 200 new subscribers. So I would love to see that number go over 2,000 total subscribers because of you guys. But thank you guys for stopping by and listening to the conversation. Comment below and give me your thoughts on some of this stuff. I'm curious to know what you think about some of these things we discussed. And as always, I appreciate the support. Come back tomorrow for part 2. I will see you guys in the comment section. Bye. South on the wall. Bran crosses the wall back into Westeros and meets with Dolorous Edd, the new Lord Commander of the Night's Watch. Sansa and Jon have an argument about what to do with the northern houses, who betrayed them by fighting with the Boltons. Sansa and Lyanna Mormont wants to give their lands to loyal supporters, but Jon refuses to hold the Karstark and Umber children responsible. Jon does it his way and basically tells the others to deal with it because he's not going to rule the North the way it's always been. At the end of the episode, Daenerys and company arrive at Dragonstone, Stannis' old seat, in an island near King's Landing. She goes into the old war room with the table map of Westeros and turns to Tyrion and says, "Shall we?"
Down, building it back up, see if it all makes sense, and also asking the pointed questions that need to be asked of season 7.
Yes, sir. I am very happy to have you on tonight, Dawn. We've been talking, messaging each other back and forth for a while now, trying to figure out when we could record something. And we decided tonight we're going to talk about this plot leak and try to pick it apart, see what's real, what's not, what makes sense, what sounds ridiculous, and things like that. So we're just pretty much going to go through it episode by episode and see what we can come up with. Okay,
Awesome.
Dawn. Episode 1, it says the White Walkers are marching. What's going on, everybody? This is Talking Thrones, and I am here with a very special guest tonight. This is a man whose channel I have been a fan of for quite some time now, someone I have been wanting to record with since the very beginning. This man is a staple, a legend in the Game of Thrones community. Tonight, I present to you the artist formerly known as Don Willie. I am here with a Dawn of Ice and Fire.
Vala Mogolis, everybody. This is Don Willie, and yeah, I am so glad to be here on your channel, good sir. Yeah, and to be discussing these plot leaks, breaking things down for ransom, or if not holding for ransom, that it's you know, that it's definitely some sort of act of vengeance for what happened during the Battle of the Bastards, and you know, and other atrocities that may have been committed while Roose Bolton and Ramsay Bolton ran the North. It's interesting to think that Jon is kind of falling into some of the same traps that Ned probably would have.
Yes.
Because yeah, the whole thing about, well, yeah, I'm not gonna hold the kids responsible.
Begin. So, Dawn, what do you think about this first episode?
All right, so, you know, it sounds legit for what we know of how they kind of structure things. And I think it could be pretty interesting if that's the route that they actually decide to go with it. I mean, we did hear about there being a high-stakes scene that's supposed to be from some northern houses, and a lot of people have been speculating that this high-stakes scene could be possibly people trying to kidnap the Umber and Karstark children and, you know, possibly hold them